Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're here another evening, Wednesday evening, to do what we do, having our discussion as it relates to the issues of our concern. The, the intent and purpose is not to embarrass or to discriminate the government. We are here to discuss issues that negatively impact us as Jamaicans. All right, tonight we'll try to address some of the issues and try to at least find solutions. I want you all to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Let me try and post it. So, with that being said, I will introduce our panelists, which is actually Rani Sutherland, Wilfred Rattigan, and Clive Lawrence. Dr. Francis will join us in a few. Good evening, guys.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right.
Good evening.
All right. So,
You're hearing me?
yes, I'm hearing this, sir. I think I'm just going to get straight to it until Dr. Francis come. But since we get the protests are Dr. Francis has wrote the letter. I am sensing a vibe that because I get a lot of calls where Jamaicans are very much defensive of the country and think that people overseas, the people in the diaspora / expatriate, trying to, there's a division, there's a divide. Why is so? Do you think there's a divide, Sir Ran? You're on the ground there.
You mean a general divide between Jamaicans living in Jamaica and those living abroad, or divide on the issue of the protests and the focus on crime?
The focus on crime, there's a lot of people reaching out to me because I made the mistake of putting my number out there 2 Saturdays ago, and I get threw out by many is saying that we need to leave them alone, including this morning. 2 bloggers call me and tell me that we're fine. Why are you guys making excitement over us?
Well, let me just start by saying we are not fine. We are not fine. We in Jamaica, we live in one of the most murderous countries in the world. Last time we checked, we are still in the top 3 on the basis of homicide rate. So none of us we are fearful here in Jamaica. We have a problem with crime. The problem, however, is that that problem that we have with crime is not a problem of last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. It's been a problem since the 1990s. As a matter of fact, if we get really historical about it, at the point of our independence, that year we had only 63 murders, and Jamaica was the safest place in the world, just coming out of colonial days. And it had its very steady climb to 1972 when the government changed. And then there were much upheaval, social upheaval in the period, probably 76 to 1980, culminating in what seemed at the time like a civil war. Where over 800 people or so murdered in the country. Mm-hmm. And then we had a succeeding period in the 80s when the government changed and a lid was put on that upheaval. And so we had a period of about 450 or 460 average murders in Jamaica in that 8-year period to 1989. And then in the 1990s, the homicide rates started to rise again. By the early 2000s, it hit over 1,000. And it rarely ever come down below 1,000 since that time. So we have had a long history of growth in crime. The concern that us locals have about the focus that being placed on it now by some people that we don't, and there's not, the view is not that the expats or the diaspora is focusing on it. The view is that there are a few people that's doing it. I put the a recording of the show in 3 WhatsApp group, my alumni WhatsApp group. One of them was a University of Technology WhatsApp group, and the other 2 in 2 Cornwall, the Cornwall Global WhatsApp group, and then there's a Cornwall Jamaica WhatsApp group. And the response was just very negative towards the focus. You know, I can't put it back in there. I'll tell you, I can't put it back in there because, and these are people largely living abroad. So we can't say that there's this general, you know, there's a disagreement.
Define the focus. When you say the focus, what do you mean? The few people that you describe, what are their focus in their opinion?
So let me tell you. So when I try to put that historical background to the crime, I'm just saying that crime is not last year. As a matter of fact, if we were to get very, very analytic about it, you know, there have been recent trending down of the crime. You know, somebody point is, why are we focusing on it now when there's a trend down? When crime has always been our problem. Not all crime, murders has always been our problem. So there's this argument as to what about it now that is the cause of this attention, to the point where we have protests or marches in foreign country about it by Jamaicans. So that is one thing. The other one is that everything is political. Everything is political. And so with the local government election being in the air, I mean, we expect the election probably the date to be called tomorrow. The timing of the focus on the crime, where it also coincide with the same call of the opposition party. You can't escape people saying the messaging is political because it is supporting the opposition party. And so that is the general responses that we're getting as opposition to it, that it serves no other purpose. By protesting in America, it is not going to bring crime down, but it has the one possibility of embarrassing the government and also to create a worse image, you know, for the country than it already has. So I make the final point about that Jamaica has always, for many years, have this bad image. As recently as this week, the government of America put out advice, you don't come to Jamaica because it is dangerous and so on. The government of America do it all the time. The government of Canada do it all the time. The British government do it all the time. All the time. We suffer under that. And the effect of that is discouraging tourists, which is our lifeblood. The tourism thing is our lifeblood. We still, however, get over 4 million tourists coming to Jamaica. The problem that they have now is that when Jamaicans are putting out that advisory in America and in Canada, it carries much more weight and credibility than when the government is doing it. Because they say when fish come from water bottom and say deep, you know, you have to believe them. And so that is the worry that they have, that now Jamaicans are leading the charge in foreign country about it. So those are the quick points I can make about how we in Jamaica respond to that.
Mr. Rattigan, you want to respond to that?
Yes, indeed. Let me say good evening to Ronnie and Clive, Dr. Francis, your listening audience, the host, Dennis. And thank you for showing up, Dennis. It was great meeting you.
Yes, man.
It was my pleasure.
Yes,
Let me just respond to what Ronnie said about the informal poll that he did, if you want to call it that, because he said he put it in a couple of chat rooms. The protest is not only about crime, Ronnie, and we need to emphasize that. The protests are about several things: crime, corruption, poverty, failure to provide service delivery, failure to make good on promises made to Jamaicans living in Jamaica, and Jamaicans living in the diaspora, as well as other issues. So it's not just crime. And the idea that why is it now that it's crime? Why is it now that there's a clarion call for us to use crime? You're right. Crime has been escalating for several years. But keep in mind that this government has made it abundantly clear that it has spent more money than any other government to deal with crime. And it came up with a solution in 2016 called Plan Secure Jamaica, which is a cascade from the National Security Plan. And if you read that plan, it's well written. And that plan is supposed to solve all of our crime problems. It's never been done before. That's 2016. We're here in 2024. In 2015, this government, when it took over the reins of power, 1,208 souls were lost to murders in 2015. We haven't seen that number since. 1,208. And despite the fact that they said, we have spent more money than anybody else, we're transforming the JCF, we're doing this, we're protecting our borders, we're doing this, we're doing that. We haven't seen it. So it's not just the idea of crime, it's the idea that you've put this idea out there that you're spending more than anybody else. You've spent and you're spending more than any other administration. You're training more than any other administration. And then we say, okay, fine, you've got the funds, but we hear the sizzle, we don't see the meat. So as far as crime is concerned, and I can go into the crime thing with you because it's not just, I can go into the crime thing and tell you how much of a failure that the JCF is at addressing crime and the JDF. I can't go into that. But let me just be abundantly clear that we are getting positive feedback. I can't begin to tell you, every single day I get people saying, thank God for the diaspora, what they're doing. They're bringing attention to what's going on. And just recently, the Prime Minister was saying, and the Minister of, the junior minister in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade said that, oh, you people, you're destroying brand Jamaica. You're destroying brand Jamaica. And I went through a laundry list and said, no, we're not. You are. When you have the illicit six, and we don't know about them, when you have a prime minister who's rubbing shoulders with people who are supposed to be holier than thou, people who are above and beyond reproach, yet he cannot claim that status because he's got two of the last three statutory declarations unverified thus far. When you've got the list of scandals that we've had since 2016, beginning with the police vehicles, right? Which we haven't gotten them up to this point. From 2016, they paid for them and we haven't gotten all of them yet. Two, the 1-point-something trillion that the Auditor General says unaccounted for, right? When you have all of those things, and that's why I'm trying to get people to look at the totality of the circumstances, not just take things in isolation. We believe that it's time for us to start saying something because we believe, we've heard that people in Jamaica are very much afraid to come out and do the things that we're doing. And we have the evidence of it. If you dare come out and say something negative about the Prime Minister, rest assured that you'll be dragged from under your bed or wherever you're hiding, brought before a camera, and you have to make an apology. Yet, we have a top 200 criminals, a list, 200 wanted criminals in Jamaica, and we can't find them, right? Small island, you can't find them, but you can find somebody if they make a negative comment about the Prime Minister. So what we're saying is that if it's ineffective, then the people in Jamaica, they, by and large, they shouldn't worry about us then. We're just fools running around, and so they should just carry on with their lives and not worry about us. But we're very effective. Not only that, the U.S. government came out with this thing, with this travel advisory. And there is something to be noted about it. And I've served as a U.S. diplomat for about better part of 8 years in the Middle East and in Africa. And I've been assigned all over Canada, England, all over the place. And one of the things I noticed with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade is that it's run by a group of rank amateurs. And I'll tell you why. And this is part of the problem, destroying brand Jamaica. The Chinese foreign minister was in Jamaica recently. And the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, they made it clear that they support the one China policy. What does that mean? It supports China's sovereignty over Taiwan. There's an African phrase, when the elephants fight, the grass suffers. You can't, you know, you wear short pants and you're getting out, long pants people argument. No, you stay out at your ways that you can do to stay out of it. And then what happened right after that? Boom, the travel advisory. And if you take note, you see that this is a direct retaliation for that, because we've been told that murders 10% and crimes across the board went down 20%. That's good news, right? So why are the Americans up in arms about this? But the Americans support the Jamaican economy a lot. USAID and the other programs. Not to mention the diaspora with its $3.6 or $8 billion to Jamaica every year. So we have a stake in what's going on. And when they talk about the embarrassment, and this is the final point I'll make, they talk about us embarrassing the government. No, we're not trying to. You only embarrass somebody. Embarrassment is an emotional feeling in an awkward moment. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the government to act responsibly, to do what it said it would do. There's a social contract between the voters and the government, and we're saying you do exactly what you're supposed to do. But the key point is this: there is an act, an American law called the Magnitsky Act. We intend to have the U.S. government apply that law to the politicians in Jamaica, the crooked politicians in Jamaica, not the honest ones. And what does that mean? It means visas will be revoked, assets will be seized. And there are other laws we're looking at where people can even be arrested for kleptocracy, stealing from your own public coffers, corruption, and human rights abuse, like unlawful detention under SOEs. That's what we're trying to do, to hold the government. We're not about regime change. We're saying, look, government, do what you were elected to do and we'll be fine. You won't hear from us. But we're hearing it from the people in Jamaica that, look, we support you. We like what you're doing because we can't do it ourselves. And so that's where we are. So there will be a protest in New York, May 10th. There will be one in Washington, D.C., the end of June during Caribbean Week. There'll be one in London. There'll be one in Toronto. And then we're gonna do the round robin thing, because then it'll go right back to Miami. And I told the CG that, look, it's coming back. Don't worry yourself. You're gonna see we again. You know, tired to see we face another place until that change is made, until they start doing right by the Jamaican people. Because, brethren, me not have no title, no. Me not look for power, me not look for prestige, me not look for position. Not look for none of that. All me I look for is for them to take care of the people. You see right behind me, that are my yard, you know. That are my yard. 41 Penwood Crescent. And when we left there, that's how it was when we left there. This picture was taken last year. It still stays the same way. That's not right. That's not right. And with that, I'll step off the stage.
Wow. As a government of both parties effectively manage violent crime since independence, I think I want to ask Clive Lawrence to answer that question, considering that you were a part of the JC.
Well, good evening, everyone. Crime is a multifactorial issue. I can tell you that from my police tenure was very short, just 3 years. It was apparent to me that from the few years I spent in the force, that the use of hard policing tactics isn't going to solve the crime problem in Jamaica. And raining down tons of cash on the problem is perhaps, tons of cash on funding direct police operations and military operations, hardware, M16s and vehicles, may not be, that sort of direct investment may not be the best way to solve the problem. I think that there may be a need to do some indirect investments in that have more to do with transforming the culture. We have a hard culture. We have a culture in which the image of manhood is one in which you must use force, one in which you must, if someone punches you, you must punch back harder. And that leads to a zero-sum. It's a zero-sum game that seemed to be inherent in the culture. Although religion features heavily in our culture, it does not seem to have that softening effect that one would expect. And if we think it's economic factors that is fundamentally driving violent crimes, then I think we'd be wrong in drawing that conclusion if we look at Haiti's crime rate, murder rate relative to Jamaica, because Haiti has a substantially lower murder rate than Jamaica. So
how could that be, though? That is just that's unbelievable. When you told me that last night, it puzzles me. I mean, it is more of a very impoverished country. I mean, and they it's like a lawless country. How could they have more less murder than Jamaica?
well, it's either they're not counting correctly, or or we gonna accept the numbers as they are and as they have been presented. But it's a tough one to answer, I honestly don't have intimate connections with Haiti from a sociological point of view to understand why they are less violent than us. But certainly what I'm trying to say here is that just drawing on their situation, I think that to say poverty and crime are positively correlated, highly positively correlated, is not would not be fact. I think it has to do with culture, and I think we have crafted a culture over time, and I think it has been kind of incentivized by the general political framework coming from both sides. Political parties compete to win power, and the history, from what I understand from folks in my family, is that there was massive migration of personnel into Kingston, for example, in the 40s and 50s, and internal immigration. And a lot of these individuals ended up settling in informal residences. Politicians took advantage of that to get the votes, and that there's a nexus between that type of informal dwelling, informal settlements, and violence, and one needing to stamp their, let's put it this way: the informal settlements and the informal structures led to low police presence in some of these areas and just ranked lawlessness. Environments where people had to just be tough and out-tough each other, right? So and this is just a personal diagnosis. This is not something coming out of any studies, but sufficient to say, I'm not by any means saying that the government has no role in this. Far be it. But I think that a lot of it has to do with home, just culture.
Wow.
And the government needs, from a governmental point of view, the best that they can do, in my humble opinion, is to set really long-term crime-solving strategy. The quick fix we're looking for, I don't think is there. I think we will need to have a cultural transformation over time. The Ministry of Culture needs to be more than a back burner ministry, in my view. It perhaps needs to be an independent ministry and manned by someone who is, no lower than the Deputy Prime Minister, in my view. The culture is what we sell. And what we're seeing here is that the culture is getting corrupted with violence. So that's my quick synopsis.
Okay. I want to hear the man understand voice. I haven't heard his voice in a long time. Dr. Rupert Francis, as a politics significantly affect the JFAS performing its duties.
Yes, but yes, that's been a part of it. Even when I was in the military myself, the politics has always been a thing. But that's one thing I can agree with Ron with, is that politics has always been. But this is not politics. None of us who are in this position right now is aiming to get any sort of a boost politically. I have been working, and I have worked with the current government before, and as a part of them, and I have never sworn allegiance to any other party, to be quite honest with you. Neither, and now that the only thing I swore allegiance to was my country when I joined the military. So, but what has happened in this situation is that I think we have put too much of an emotional spin from the Jamaican perspective on the whole thing. And I would like to remove it from an emotional situation, as Clive has served before, and he quite said, and he analyzed it well in his own quiet form. I don't think Clive is always that quiet, but he's been quiet this evening and analytical. And, and Ratty was more strident in terms of what he said, etc. But in my case, it's been hurtful, because when people from Jamaica, who I know, will look at you and say that you ran away from the country, you failed to do what you're supposed to do in the country, and people are saying, yeah, hey, shouting and say, yes, it's true. It's not true. It cannot be true, because we love Jamaica, but the fact that we don't love some of the things that are happening in Jamaica. And some people are just taking up, they don't, I don't know if they care. They talk about the culture. Yes, our culture seems to have gone where everybody takes precedence over the Jamaican people. Everybody who comes here, the Chinese, the Indians, everybody. I don't like to look at people in versus color and where they're from and so on. But my God, take care of your people first. Pastor Christian and Whitney first. And what is happening is that I do not see the Jamaicans, average Jamaican, is any better off. And whether we like it or not, I think it was partially by design to keep our people dumb and dumber. Education-wise, we have no form of real good early childhood education. And we know that the basis of any family is education and access to it and access to resources. We don't have it. When are we going to change? When are we going to get? And so when you talk out, people say, but you're washing your dirty linen in public. No, I'm not. You are. I'm not the one murdering people, right? You have a murder for hire thing that came out this week. We are one of the worst murder for hire, even when Colombo was going hot and El Salvador. We were higher. All I'm saying is, it should not be there. We are Jamaicans. Anybody who can invent reggae, invent one love, invent those things, I think they are God's people. And we need to show the love that we're giving. We give love to everybody else except ourselves. And I believe that we must love ourselves first before we love anybody else. And that is the big elephant in the room as far as I'm concerned. Can we love ourselves? Can we stop hitting on each other? In this whole business, since I wrote this letter, the attack has not been against the issues. It's been against me. There's something wrong with me. How can I be of this opinion? And there's where I rest my case, because I don't want it to hog the show. But there it is. I'm saying to you, there is more than meets the eye. Let's deal with the issues. Let's see if we can bring back Jamaica on an even keel. That's all I'm saying. And because I love my country, in spite of what everybody says, you must read. I've invested myself. I've invested my funds in my country. I've given more than I ought to give in terms of that. All this time, how many years? And all I'm saying to you, meet us halfway, people. Meet us halfway. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Saran, I want to pose the same question to you, Saran, and I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to answer. As politics significantly affect the JPS in performing their duties?
I don't know. What I do know is what I've heard over many, many years, that politics has a history of infiltrating, the police force. And I believe that is much less so now than it was 20, 30 years ago, and 40 years ago. So I could not put that up now as an issue that is manifesting itself in the level of crime that we have. So Jamaica is a corrupt place. And I'm not a Johnny come lately about that. Jamaica is a corrupt place. As recently as this week, Transparency International released their report, their corruption index in Jamaica. It's 43. If you're below 50, it means you're a corrupt country. And Jamaica has been like that in the 41, 42, 43 for the last 20 years. So the issue that I have is all this new discovery that we're making now about these things. Jamaica has been this corrupt for 20, 30 years. So I believe that the level of corruption that the police, experience had, has been significantly reduced. No, am I able to say that, there's no more politics in there? Absolutely not. I can't. But what I can say, there was a new release, a poll done by Dan Anderson, just released yesterday. And the perception in Jamaica that the two most corrupt entities in Jamaica, 92% of the people in Jamaica said, the police and politicians are the two most corrupt things. Is that new? Of course not. What I do know of a fact, so if let me just take a minute, because I need to make a spin on it. That while we are here talking about crime, or it's bad, and corruption, or it's bad, which are still news, there are some things that are great, that if we only take time to be a little positive, we probably will discern something else happening. For many years, Jamaica had a debt to GDP of 140%. It meant almost everything we were earning was going to pay down debt. Very little was there for the social services, to fight crime and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Now it's down to half. It is now 74%. A spectacular reduction in the debt to GDP. Now, what that has done is release much more resource to deal with a lot of the social problems that we have. Jamaica has done so spectacularly well on the economic front. Every one of the big multinational, capital, institutions around the world. Just last week, one of them was saying in Britain, I think the British I'm saying America can learn from Jamaica's spectacular economic performance. And all of these things are setting up the country to be in a better place to deal with a lot of the social issues that we have. That is, I'd love to hear when we go to do protests in New York and Florida and so. Make those points too, because those are real points that we know. Ask the government, how are we going to use all of this spectacular economic, improvement to deal with the matter that we have, because we never had these performances before 20. Let me say Peter Phillips is the guy who started that platform, the IMF agreement, and 8 years after, it is bearing fruit, and that's a message that those of you guys who are abroad, preaching about corruption and preaching about crime, preach about that too, because that is now setting up Jamaica to be a much better place. Because they couldn't afford crime before.
We hope. We hope.
Yeah, go ahead. I wanna allow you to respond to him, Sir Rattigan. But I want you to also answer. I'm gonna divert for a minute. He wants to know, because I've been hearing this. Why now? The protest. So you can respond to him, but also
the election is coming up. The election is coming up.
Yeah. So the question is, why now? Go ahead.
All right. Let me just make it abundantly clear that I've never voted in Jamaica. I left Jamaica before I could vote. I have no political affiliation. In fact, both parties now, they see me as a member of the other party. JLP send me a PNP, PNP send me a JLP, which is a very good position to be in, because it shows my independence and my ability to excite controversy. But Ronnie, if I ask you, if I employ you to cut my grass, Ronnie, and you cut my grass, right? Now, why should I be over the moon about that? If I say cut my grass and then you cut the grass and I come back and you see you clean the veranda, then I say, whoa, he went above and beyond, because I pay him to cut the grass and he did more than what I expected. Then I can applaud you. But if I pay you to do something and you do it, why should you expect a medal from me? If I pay you to do it and you don't do it, you should expect to be rebuked. And so a protest is never about saying, oh, the GDP to debt ratio is great. No, because the government campaigned on that promise. And you say, okay, if you campaign that you're going to lower the GDP to debt and you do it, where you want me to run up and down and say, no, I'm saying, yeah, fine. You did what you were employed to do.
Can I ask a question while you're on that?
Sure.
You live in America. How long have you been living in America?
Lived there for quite a while. I'd have to go back and think. But I've also lived other places.
30 years?
About maybe longer than that.
Do you pay taxes in America?
Yes, sir.
Are you happy with what the American government is doing with your taxes there?
To some degree, no.
Do you protest against them for it?
Oh, yeah, I do.
When you see a white policeman stand up in a black man neck to death, and but I am afraid of going to America now. I'm just saying this quite sincerely, that there's a level of arbitrariness about the killing in America that makes the very targeted killing that going in Jamaica pale in insignificance.
Outstanding.
That you could be walking in a mall, just walking in a mall, or you're at a nightclub, and 50 are you in a church. We don't have those things going on in Jamaica.
What?
So why do you find it necessary to go and protest?
Well, run it.
Well,
Two quick things. One is, we're talking about Jamaica. If you want to talk about America, that's a different subject. And if you want to make a comparison, that's fine. But I thought we were just focused on crime in Jamaica.
No, it's motive. No, I'm talking about motive.
All right.
I'm talking about motive. Because you have no more, I don't think you have any more invested in Jamaica to be taking up Jamaica's problem in America than you have of America's problem in America. Because
let me give you
taxes there.
Let me give you one stat. Let me give you one stat that will put this to rest. Do you know what the murder rate per 100,000 in America is?
Yes,
What is it?
about 7,
Do you know what the murder rate in Jamaica is?
about 50.
I rest my case.
But that has been the case forever.
42.
No,
I rest
that's
my
not
been the
case.
case
true. That is not, Ronnie, stop it. Ronnie, stop it. No, listen to me. Before a few years ago, nobody would go into a church and murder anybody in Jamaica. Nobody cutting off anybody and playing football in America. Nobody is going in and killing babies, right? And
In
we
America,
don't
you
do
said in
anything.
America.
Well, no, not like the way we kill them. We rape them,
I'm
kill them, cut
saying
off them
in
head.
America,
We
I said
rape them,
mental
kill them.
church
Listen to me, my friend.
16
There is a
people.
demonic, as far as I'm concerned, there's a demonic force that has gone into our people. When you can look at something like that and you think it's okay. You can go like a man who call Brogard, what they want to call him, in 5 minutes, and you cannot even solve the murders that are happening in Jamaica. Come on, give me a break, man. It's about time you give us a break. Because I'm telling you, you don't love Jamaica more than me, because you cannot say that in a straight face. You can't.
About what? Can't say what in a straight face.
Let's assume that.
No, I'm saying, but this is what I'm saying. Jamaica has a murder rate that's many times the murder rate in America. There's no doubt about that. And that has been the case forever. That's not a development over the last year or two that we're getting so interested in it. But there's an arbitrariness. There's an arbitrariness about things, the murder, the killing in America, that makes it scary. Nobody walk around and having these, almost every day in America, you have what they call a multiple or mass shooting every day. Every day. And a lot of them, they're just arbitrary.
What are you implying? Are you implying then the fact that it has been going up over the years? There's no need for anybody to take action.
The crime has not been going up over the years. If you look at the crime, we have been over 1,000, between 1,600 and 11 and 1,200 almost for the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Run it. Let me, one of the arguments is this. I've heard in the papers and the press and so on. Why didn't you come to Jamaica and tell us and give us the information and what have you? Well, I know at least 3 people on this platform right now who has been in, and maybe 4 in this platform, that went to Jamaica, and if they had listened, nothing else, but just listen, and do what 10% or 20% or whatever of what they were asked to do or work together and do, we would not be where we are today, Ronnie. We would not be. Please, we have the evidence, right? So the people, they're bamboozling the people.
But the evidence of what?
Having gone down there. All right, answer him, please, Will. Answer him.
Let me just make one point, because I said Chris joined us. I just want to make one quick point. One quick point.
Chris, you need a lighter. You need some lighter. I can't see him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my friend. Sorry. Go ahead, Ratty. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. The crime is a major issue in Jamaica. It's affecting GDP. It's affecting the quality of life. It's affecting commerce. It's affecting everything. And we've all said that if you can control crime, that jewel that we call Jamaica will begin to shine with brilliance. We've said that. No, you would think that since it's a priority area, that you would have priority people in that area to deal with it. All right. No, Ronnie, let me show you something now, Ronnie. We have a medical doctor who's in charge of national security. 0 law enforcement experience. We have a junior minister in the Ministry of National Security, Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, 0 law enforcement experience. We have a permanent secretary, Alison Stone Root, I believe her name is. 0 law enforcement experience. We have a police commissioner, a military man, no real law enforcement experience. Now tell me, what image are you projecting when you say we're fighting crime and you have 4 people in the chain of command, and combined, I have more experience than them, and I have 30 years in the FBI. And you have 4 people there responsible for protecting our people and protecting the island. And you tell me you're serious about crime. and you spent the most money, more than any other administration, and you have an initiative called Plan Secure Jamaica. You have the STAR program. You have all kinds of things. And yet, the murder rate still stays above 1,000. Would you call that failure?
That's a failure. That's what that is.
You want to respond to that, Ron?
I don't know how much time I must say. I'm saying Jamaica has been failing at keeping the people, the Jamaican government has been failing at keeping the people in Jamaica safe forever. I don't know how much more time I must say. The point I'm making, I'm just here. All I'm doing is parroting what people are saying. That this focus now by a fringe group in America on the crime situation in America, in Jamaica, is ill-timed. Because it doesn't matter what you get up and say. It doesn't matter what you get up and say.
No.
But we don't have no political this or we don't. What is real? No. What is real is perception. The perception is that what you guys are doing, campaigning out abroad about it, has zero effect on bringing crime down. Nobody can. We sit down and we try to dissect it and try to understand how it can help. We see no possible benefit. But we, however, and I'm not saying it is intended. I don't say you're out there intended to do this. What we do see, whether unintended or intended, the likelihood of further damaging the image of Jamaica. When you're doing something with zero positive benefit, with a likelihood of some negative benefit, the thing is negative.
So you're saying that you don't think the government see what they're doing overseas?
It doesn't matter what the government see. This cannot impact the government. The government don't care about this. What the government hear it all? What the government do? It goes and do his soundboard. It comes back and they say, "Oh, this is not mainstream. This representation when you're up and down and stuff, is not mainstream." The vast majority of the diaspora are not in support of it, so they can ignore it. So what this is now, it is just a nuisance factor.
How do you know that, Ronnie? How do you know that the vast majority of the diaspora doesn't support this?
Because we don't see them in evidence.
Don't mean anything. It don't mean. No, Ronnie, not Ronnie.
On social media.
No, Ronnie. They just are cut to inaction. Okay, that's what it is. They may even have not very much feeling.
Chris,
I'm on a cell phone. No worries. I'll be home soon. I'll go on a different platform. Go ahead.
Apart from a public protest, though, what other measures do we think short-term measures? I mean, we have short, medium, long-term. What other short-term measures can this group recommend? And I want to ask about capital punishment, because we have people who are career killers in the country. Be it the 200 or other individuals.
Yeah.
Right. Where do we stand as a group on this idea of capital punishment and its effect and its potential effect on the murder rate?
I would like to jump in quickly on that. Come and live here.
Yeah.
It will have zero effect under the current arrangement. We could even try to kill them 3-4 times. It would have zero effect. And that goes to the crux of the matter in Jamaica. That when you're only convicting 5% of the people who kill people, it doesn't matter how severe the punishment is. Because 95% of those who go about murdering people, and in that 5%, understand that you have a lot of domestic murder. Everybody knows that a boy that kill him brother or kill him mother or kill him wife or whatever. So the people who are going around murdering people because they're in gangs or into scamming or whatever it is, they do it with impunity. We have not built the capacity since independence to catch and convict people. So It doesn't matter how severe. If you were sending people abroad and it was certain that if you kill someone, you're going to go to prison for 10 years. If it was certain, you would need to give them more 10 years.
So you're saying, therefore, we have a problem with the justice system in Jamaica?
No, we have a problem with law enforcement.
Well, but it's the same thing.
The whole thing.
The whole system, my friend.
It's a part of it.
I agree with you that the justice system, because the justice system does not have the capacity to deal with the level of crime and thing in Jamaica.
But the point I'm trying to make is, listen to me. Let me say this. We don't know. Some people say it's a deterrent. But I personally think it would be a deterrent in Jamaica, to be quite honest. Nobody wants a family member hanged. And certainly a young man seeing that. Right? Certainly when I was growing up, and I'm sure you're growing up, when you heard a hanging, I would hide because I'm saying, boy, this is serious stuff. Okay? But what in answer to Brother Lawrence's question, the question must be asked, what are the short, medium, and long-term things that can be done? And what we were just talking about was the ignoring, and the minister himself, my friend, if he still want to call me my friend, told me on TV or wherever you want to call it, that him don't want my advice, him don't want our advice, the crime task force advice. And we had more experience combined than maybe half of the force. And not me alone, I'm talking now, people, good people, who reduce crime and violence in Los Angeles, for example, by 50%, in Winnipeg by 50%. And they were there for not just hard policing, as Clive said, but soft policing. We have lost the people of Jamaica, where the people are all fighting us. Why do you think so? And then we have brainwashed them to believe it's the diaspora's problem and it's the diaspora causing. What a, what you call it, shim-sham game, trick-yard trick. Oh, we can't do that, brother. We cannot do that.
Let me answer for the government. Let me answer for the government. They're not here to defend themselves.
What?
Let me tell you something.
What?
Dr. Francis, there's a level of arrogance in that view that you're expressing there, that you have the answer to the problem and the government don't want to take it. I'm saying, if you approach it that way, people are going to find it offensive, because nobody believes that you or anybody else have a monopoly on the knowledge around solving crime.
Guess what? I agree with you.
Let me tell you, if we
I agree with you. But I'm going to say something.
If we want to help Jamaica or help anybody, when I see somebody I need to help, I go to my school. I'm the president of the UTech alumni in Jamaica. I don't go to them and say, this is how I want to help you. I go to the school, go to Cornwall College, and I ask them, how can we be of help to you?
Okay, so you think hold on, Ronnie, one moment, Ronnie. Hold on. Ronnie. So you are saying me, a person who has studied communication, taught communication at all levels. That's how I went to Dr. Chang. He was the one who attacked me. And I've never been raised my voice apart from on this platform. I never said I had capability, I said the people, we will have the capability throughout the diaspora, sir. I'm a friend, but I call him sir. And I said to no, and I did not raise my voice like I'm doing now. But it agitates me that people could send the wrong information, disinformation and misinformation, that I myself, I'm a communicator. You ask anybody who knows me. And so you're going to tell me I go there with arrogance? Come on, give me a break.
I picked up. I come to that view about the arrogance. So based on what you said a while ago, you have said it several times before.
No. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you now. Hold on. Hold on, pull up. I'm going to tell you, I apologize if I came across like that. But what is inside me is the anger that my people are being slaughtered on a day-to-day basis, and nobody intends to do anything about it. That's my chagrin.
That's not true. You like I say, you apparently you're a Johnny come late. You just come to that. We have
First of all, hold on. Johnny come lately, brother. You know how long I've been doing this? Long time before you. Long time before you know yourself.
I've never heard. I think I have the solution to the crime problem in Jamaica.
You don't. You don't have no idea. You have no idea.
You want me to share it with you now?
Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead.
Because people are tired of hearing what's wrong with Jamaica. Let me tell you what has been the problem with crime in Jamaica.
Tell me.
And I don't have to be a police, I don't have to be a soldier, and I don't agree that the Minister of National Security should be a police or a soldier. I don't think it's necessary. All you just have to be of discernment. In 1962, when we took over the running of the country from the British colonial people, the first thing that we did was to dismantle the approach to law enforcement in the country. That's the first thing we did. Because we now make politics make the most important thing. We can't pressure poor people in the way that the British colonial people were pressuring them in colonial days. If a little black man would just come off of the plantation, piece of roadside in Ghana jail. If him cuss about in Ghana jail. If him go over Mr. Bakra place called thief a piece of iron in Ghana jail. And these are people who are marginalized. And so we got the view that because they have to vote now, because we are universal adult suffrage gone, we ease up on the control of crime. We de-emphasize law enforcement as a policy, both parties. I can tell you, we took the view that it is not necessary to send people to jail because they break the law. The reason why they were breaking the law is because they don't have anywhere to live, they don't have any education, and they do not have any work. And so our approach to deal with crime was to de-emphasize law enforcement. So I was here when you were there, and I got a chance to walk around to all the police stations, a lot of them, you know, go to the prisons and see them. The police stations ran down. They were like rat-infested places. You walk in on board floor, you're dropping through it. The roof leaked because they de-emphasize law enforcement. Up until about a year ago, a police officer joining the police force were being paid less than $100,000 a month to join the police, which means that we had no interest in attracting people like where, you know, Mr. Rattigan work, where you have to be among the brightest to get a job there. That is what we did, and we continue to do it to this day. So the de-emphasis on law enforcement, where we believe that we could provide social programs to discourage criminals, has not worked.
So
it has not worked.
Anyway, I don't want to take over, but I just want to ask you one question. So during that time, I happen to have been around from the 60s. I came from the same type of environment, and I had a village who helped me to be where I am today. And I decided, well, my mother decided, hey, you're not going into them things, you know. But, you know, anyway, I've lost the screen. And so, hello?
We can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
I'm not saying to you. So all I'm saying is that we have to understand that the fact of the matter is this. Listen, there's not one answer to it. And I agree with you on that. But what I'm saying, don't demonize somebody. Because I'm telling you, I get very emotional when it comes to crime anywhere, but especially in Jamaica. And the level of crime, I think it could be avoided. Just like how I avoided me. I came across weed and all them things a long time. Because him come from St. Friends, I come to the seaside. Okay? And I'm where I am, thank God. And I have been in the United States only 25 years. You know when I came to the United States? When I could not get a job in my own country, regardless of my qualifications. Anyway, I'm leaving that to the rest of the part because I see Mr. Rattigan there, he maybe wants to say something. I don't. What I want you to walk away from this. Listen, no, I want to walk away from this. To make listen, see that smile on your face, Ronnie. Me like to see that smile. Me not like to see when you're angry.
No, Dr. Francis.
What?
You can come back now. One of the big news in Jamaica is that we are at a record low when it comes to unemployment.
Okay,
unemployment level in Jamaica now is 4.2.
Ronnie, hold on. I hate to say this.
Any economist that is full of
Ronnie, I'm a big target, you know. I'm a big target because of what people say right now. So when a man shoot out at me, you know, nah, I'm missing up. Okay, so I just want you to understand that. So Jamaica, I'm killing a man for Jamaica killing a man for
I'm just giving you something else to talk about Jamaica have an unemployment level which is lower.
Anyway, Ronnie, listen to me. Ronnie, listen, Ronnie. I've been hugging. I don't want to, and I'm not feeling so well. You know, it's only because of you I come on tonight. You know, because I want to talk to you. You know, the only reason I come on tonight. Not true. Anyway, please take back a platform, Mister.
Let me ask this question, and I'm going to start with Mr. Rattigan. What solution do you propose to reduce the violent crime?
Let me start by reading you a quote from our esteemed Minister of National Security. And Dr. Francis is very familiar with this quote. I quote, Jamaica has some of the best crime fighting expertise in the world, and I cannot see any possible avenue to engage the diaspora expertise to help fight crime in Jamaica. I'll read that again. Let this sink in. Jamaica has some of the best crime fighting expertise in the world, and I cannot see any possible avenue to engage the diaspora expertise to help fight crime in Jamaica.
It's a good point by a leader. I've been leading businesses for the last 30 years, and that's how we talk about the people under our charge. That's how we talk about them. If he had said anything else, just let him agree. I don't agree. I mean, when I get very objective about, well, if we find the best crime fighting, we don't agree with that is the case. What we know about fight crime in Jamaica. But at the same time, that is the response I expect from a leader. Anything else could be demoralizing.
No, here's Ronnie. Here's the context. This was in a discussion with diaspora members. This wasn't in front of his troops or anything like that.
But I'm hearing it now.
It was a discussion.
Right now for you.
Right. It was a discussion about, hey, how can we help? That was a discussion. How can we help? Because we understand that the crime rate there is a problem, and we believe that we might be able to help. At least, if we come, we can talk about solutions, and some of them might work, some of them might not work. But at least let's have a discussion. And he foreclosed that possibility. He said, I don't want to talk to you guys. He said, if you want to come and give a speech, we'll approve it. But if you, and send your money, by the way. He said, send your money. Continue to send your money. But if you plan on, if you think you're going to come and sit alongside us and help us to work out this crime issue, it's not going to work. Now, getting to the question that Dennis asked me, how do you address this crime problem? What are the solutions? Let me just start by saying that the JCF lacks leadership. And the first thing I would do, I would get rid of all of the dead weight over there. All of the dead weight. I would get real crime fighters. And believe me when I tell you that, I know some of them in Jamaica. There are crime fighters in Jamaica, but they're stifled. They're not being given the avenue to develop their full potential or to display their abilities. They're not. And therein lies the issue of the politics. But that's the first thing I would do. Then another thing I would do is, it's so easy to police Jamaica because you have natural borders. You have Cornwall, Middlesex, sorry. What I would do as police commissioner is this. Every morning at 8 o'clock, you see the dead weight they call high command, I would get rid of them. I don't need them there. I would have somebody in charge of Cornwall, somebody in charge of Middlesex, somebody in charge of Surrey. Every morning at 8 o'clock, we have a teleconference. They have to tell me what happened in the last 24 hours and their plan for the next 24 hours. And any day that I can tell them what's going on in their county before they can tell me, then that's the day I get rid of them. I don't need them. That's the day that person in charge of that county will be leading the band or taking care of the dogs or the horses or something. That's not a crime fighter. I need people to come up with solutions. I heard them ask the police commissioner at a Star Project event. They asked him a question: how can the Jamaicans in Jamaica and the Jamaicans in the diaspora help to address the crime issue in Jamaica? And the poor man, his answer was, I'm not here wearing my commissioner's hat tonight. That's on tape. That's on tape. No, there's a perfect Ronnie talking about leadership. That's when he should say, we have we have this and we have that, and we're looking to do this and we're looking to do that. Instead, he just folded up like a cheap suit and just said, I'm not wearing my hat. I gave a speech one time, April 7, 2017. No, sorry. I think it was in April 2027. I gave a speech, and I sat there and I'm just scribbling things about fighting crime in Jamaica. And I came up with 41 things, just sitting at that meeting, just scribbling things. One of the things your people say, we need a crime plan. We need a crime plan. There have been no less than half a dozen crime plans over the past 20 years in Jamaica. And every single one of them, they say the same thing. Every single one of them. The problem is implementation. Jamaicans are very good at writing policy or copying policy. They're very bad at implementing them. Go to the website and you'll read like when you read some of these things, you think you're like, reading something from the US or Canada or Sweden or something like that. But then when you say to them, okay, show me the results. Show me the results. Very, very lacking. And that's where I would start. Again, like I said, I have 41 things written down here, and I have it. But I would start with the leadership. And then also there has to be a separation. There has to be a separation. You cannot have the prime minister taking the chief of staff, making him the first and the only national security advisor, where he failed, and then he turned around and he said, okay, I want you to be my police commissioner. And he's failed miserably there, and they increased his salary. You cannot have that, because I submit to you that if there's a reason to arrest the prime minister, this police commissioner won't do it. This police commissioner won't do it. A police commissioner like Chairman Rowan James would do it. He would do it. This police commissioner, he won't do it. And by the way, the Integrity Commission Act of 2017 gives the police, the JCF, concurrent jurisdiction to arrest and to investigate an arrest. But have they done that? No. And you just don't see the kind of leadership that you expect from a law enforcement agency. I just don't see it. And what they're doing is they're winging it. The murder rate went down 7% last year. But if you ask them, show me a concrete plan that resulted in that 7%, they can't tell you, because I tell you what, states of emergency are not police tactics or police strategy, and was never intended to be constitutionally. As we all know, you can only use a state of emergency in Jamaica under the Constitution in 3 instances: war, insurrection, and natural disaster. And yet, we've seen a proliferation of states of emergency since 2020. Even after the court ruled that states of emergency as implemented are unconstitutional, 3 states of emergency have been declared since then. So what that tells me is that they're out of ideas. And the reason why they're out of ideas is because they're not leaders. They don't know how to lead. They don't know how to manage. And what we're seeing, we will continue to see, because there is no substance there. There is no depth there. And again, I'm not saying copy what America is doing, copy what this one is doing, copy what that one is doing. I'm saying look at what people are doing, and then you can tailor it to fit your individual needs as a country. But we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is this arrogance saying, we don't need anything from you guys. We don't need it. We can do it on our own. We don't need anything from you. Meanwhile, the murder rate stays well above 1,000 every year since 2015, 2016. And if you go back and you look, don't take my word for it, people. Go back and read the Prime Minister's speeches. Go back and look at the throne speeches made by the Governor General on behalf of the government. Look at all of those speeches and just go to the section for crime. Just go there and see. And you'll see that the same things are repeated year in, year out with no results. So, Ronnie, I understand where you're coming from, my friend. And I understand that you're not necessarily espousing these views. You're saying these are the views of people who have been in contact with you. I understand that. But trust me, once they see the results of these protests, they will come aboard. They will start supporting the
what
one.
will be the result? What result are you expecting? Because
Well,
that is what we don't see.
I'll tell you what.
Result?
Yeah, you said at some point, you said at some point not too long ago that Jamaica is a corrupt country, right?
Yeah.
Corruption is a
corruption is too.
But hold on, we're talking about Jamaica. We're trying to fix Jamaica, my brethren. That's why we're here. We're trying to fix Jamaica. You're taking me all over the place. I mean, I don't want to go there with you. We're trying to fix Jamaica. Jamaica is a corrupt country, right? That's a given. So now you say, well, where is the corruption? And you mentioned it. You said that 92% of the population said that the corruption is with the politicians and the police.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So if you have a corrupt parliament and you have a corrupt JCF, then how do you deal with them? Well, it doesn't look like we can deal with them in Jamaica. So what we're doing is there's something called the Magnitsky Act, my friend. And it says, if you're a corrupt politician, then guess what? There are certain things that the American government can do. There are certain things that the Canadian government can do. There are certain things that the UK government can do. There are certain things that the EU can do. Those are the things we're asking to be done to remove the corruption from the system. And I'm telling you, the first time we can get these governments to remove some of these people, you will see a sea change in the way people perceive what we're doing.
You really believe that the American government need your help to find corrupt politicians in Jamaica? You think you really believe that they need you to point out to them that see a corrupt one here and see a corrupt? You think they need your help?
No, Ronnie, you're missing the point. They don't need my help. And I'll tell you why, Ronnie. Because everything that happens in Jamaica is known up at Ligani. Everything.
I agree. Exactly. So I'm saying, I made that point quite facetiously.
Hold on, let me finish. So what we're doing is we're not going to the US government and say that, well, this guy's corrupt. They know. What we're going to say, what we're going to them to say is that, listen, you have applied this law all over the world. We need you to apply it now, regardless of geopolitics. We need you to apply it for the sake of the Jamaican people. We are representing their interest because they can't. That is what we're asking to do. We're asking them to apply it and remove those people.
No, what I'm saying, I don't believe that they need your help to come to that conclusion. They can do it. But you use a very important term about geopolitics. They will use whatever law they have at their disposal to their benefit. So if it doesn't suit them now to piss off Jamaica, that law will remain dormant. If it suits them, you didn't remember some politician would them lose them visa the other day and all them something. You weren't aware of that. Yeah,
but Ronnie,
some visa
thing went
on.
Ronnie, I want you to remember something. Ronnie, I want you to remember something. Unlike Jamaica, politicians in America, to some degree, they listen to their constituency because they understand that the cardinal rule of a politician, right, is to get reelected. And they know that when people dissatisfied with them, they'll vote their asses out. They know that. And also combined with the fact that this year is an election year in America. So we will get an audience when we go to Congress. We will get an audience when we go to the State Department. If for no other reason, the fact that it's an election year. So when we go and we say, listen, we need you to pull certain visas and seize certain assets because of this and that. We are not guaranteeing that it will be done, but we are guaranteeing that we will try to get it done. because ultimately the power is in their hands. But we are going to do our level best. Because here's one, from what I'm listening and I'm gleaning from you, is that Jamaica is a corrupt society. Jamaica is a violent society. And you people protesting won't do a damn thing. It won't change anything. And what we're doing in Jamaica, it won't change either. So just leave us alone and let us just.
No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that. I'm not saying
what
that.
you saying?
I'm saying, and I repeat it, and I've done it several times before you got on, that I'm a strategist by trade. And when we make strategic decision about what we're going to do or not do, we have a balance of what's the outcome? You talk about results. What's the result, the possible results of this action that we're going to take? And so we know that with every strategy, there are going to be upsides and there are going to be likely downside. If you don't have no downside, you don't have a strategy. When we look at what you guys are doing, we are yet to see the upside. We don't see any benefit flowing from it at all. None. Zero. But we also see, and I'm not saying that the negative or the downside must manifest. We are not saying it must. But we see the high likelihood of more damage, because Jamaican thing has been damaged already. But we see the likelihood of damaging the image of Jamaica, discouraging tourism coming here that can help us. People, I'm thinking about Miss Maud, who work at Holiday Inn, who have a little pitney go to school, and if the thing shut down like us when shut down in the 70s because it was too bad to come to Jamaica, that lady we will send her grandpitney go to school. I see that. You guys don't care. You don't mind if it burned down as long as some people go to jail. And
I don't say that.
And so I love to hear from Clive. Clive is from the north. So why don't we hear from Clive? We talk all this time, and brother Clive just sit on the listening. Come on, man. Give him a chance.
We have to balance the thing. So we know I have no doubt that you guys mean well. I don't see the slightest evil when I look at you guys. If you guys are evil, I'd see it and tell them because he's a straight shooter. But I'm just saying, clearly you guys are misguided because there's no positive upside. None. The one thing that you're saying that you likely could get from it is to send someone to jail because government will come and lock them up.
All right. Ronnie. Let me just say this because Clive and we have other folks here want to talk, and I just want to make this quick point. You said you have the solution to fighting crime, and what you did was the solution. Yeah, you say you. I
have the solution of the explanation.
Yeah, you have the explanation to solving crime.
Because I don't have the solution.
But Ronnie,
we have pursued a liberal approach to crime in Jamaica, and that's gotten us where we are.
All right, Ronnie. First of all, we've only had one protest. Only one. Right?
I don't think...
We have only one. And by government estimates, it was a colossal failure. That's what the government is saying. It's a colossal failure.
I think so too. I saw what I saw.
Don't worry about our failures. Don't worry about it. We are right. We satisfied with the failures. We'll move on. But you said you have an explanation for crime, right?
That's why it has got where it is,
yes. But the thing about it is that you haven't given us a solution to crime. So let's say, right, that we stop tomorrow and we say, you know what? Fine. We abandon all the plans. We just leave them alone. Where does Jamaica go from here?
If what happened? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you have the protests or don't have the protests. That's what Jamaica going to go on. The problem, let me tell you what I think. You have worked a long time in America, a very highly resourced, country. Jamaica has been, the police force and army and so on, have been poorly resourced. It doesn't matter how nicely written the plans are. What we always do, we write these plans and the resource allocation is not there. Because the poor-ass country could not resource it. Can you imagine in Jamaica, where people just shoot people and just run around the corner or jump on a bike and ride away or drive a car away. And the police force don't have a single helicopter. Not one helicopter. For all of these years. In America, you're well resourced. So when I hear about man who fix crime and bring down crime in New York and bring down crime in Chicago and bring it down so we can bring it to Jamaica. Unless you can show where the resource is going to come from, then we have an entirely different environment working in. In Jamaica, that is what must change. I would have no problem cutting back from education, cutting back from health, cutting back from housing, cutting back from infrastructure, and put into law enforcement. That would be my solution, because it is starved and it can't win at the level of resource which it has now. So that's at a macro level. It has nothing to do on leadership and no skill and all those things. We have put the best people in the world. We have got great guys coming from Canada, from Britain, and all over the place. And it has not made any difference.
Short-term solutions.
Private chance.
Short-term solutions are not going to, whether we protest or we reallocate short-term budget, those to me are short-term things. I think that one of the sources of our social problem stems from the extent to which, people are a substantial proportion of our population reside in informal settlements. These are what are otherwise referred to as garrisons. The garrisons have their own system of government, which is literally separate and apart from the Jamaica that a lot of people live in, right? The Don, and now we find, divergent groups within those communities have taken over administration of the community, and they part of the administration that they've taken over is to impart justice. So someone commits a rape, they apply jungle justice, right? And you rape the wrong person, you get killed, or you touch the wrong person's daughter, you get killed. And that is what I think is necessary, is for us to clean up the country in terms of the slums. There's just too much of our country that falls within the slum domain, and it's increasing. The slum footprint is increasing. The problem with the slum is that it creates its own culture, its own subculture. And like, as I said, the prime minister of the country is one person, the mayor of a town or city is one, but guess what? The Don, or the people who control those informal communities, wage or serious power in the society, and those are the people I think are swinging crime in the direction it's heading in. So to me, housing is a priority. There is this whole idea in the Jamaican mindset that people must own land. I say no, we don't want to. We're a small island. We don't want everybody to own land, but we want everybody to have a home, and that's a big difference. And that home creates the nucleus of what a society needs to build from. We don't have, we literally have too many people growing up in slums and getting used to being socialized into jungle justice rather than the true formal system of justice which exists in the country. You slap someone, they don't go to the police, they deal with it, right? And the way they deal with it leads to a cycle of retaliation, right? So housing is more, to me, housing is more than housing the masses. The Singaporeans did it. Lee Kuan Yew did it as one of the key pieces of fixing his country and re-socializing his people from being slum dwellers. I think it very much applies to Jamaica. And Kingston itself is vastly a slum area, right? The other thing I'd love to see as a change on is aspect of the part of our government that is called local government. I would like to see Jamaica adopt the approach that the Canadians take around local government. local government should not be part of the partisanship that the two political party framework that dominates the frame. The local government should be focused on local issues and not be dragged into the partisanship that we've come to know it as. And we see right now people are looking to use it as a barometer to measure government's, the national government's popularity. But in my view, that's just, it's a bad idea to make local issues, common local issues, like fixing of basic roads, into partisan issues.
All right. I think I'm going to ask this question just to get it out there. We're close to the end of the program, and I must say at this point, thank you guys for participating. But the guns that are entering the country, do you think politicians, and I must ask Mas Randis, do you think politicians are the ones that bring in the gun into the country? The guns?
I don't have any evidence of that. What I do remember, Jamaica has had a history of political involvement in gun running. There was a time when, the war was politically based, and there's no doubt in my mind, I've never seen politicians handing gun over to anybody, but I've heard people who have respect for and think they are credible, give account of politicians distributing firearm, or even if they're not physically there handing over the gun, that they are well aware of the politicians' involvement. That I know to be many years ago. I'm not saying, politicians are far away from criminal activities now and possibly, close to, people who are, toting guns. But I believe that the link between guns and that kind of criminal gangsters, I think that link is somewhat severed. I'm not saying it's all gone, but nothing close to what it was probably in the 70s, coming into the 80s, and probably some very early 90s. So I would not, I cannot say with any confidence that politicians are facilitating, the distribution of guns, are facilitating the importation of guns into the country. I cannot say that.
Chris,
to that effect.
Chris, you want to speak on that? Do you think that the politician facilitate the guns that enter the country?
Like Ronnie says, I agree with him. I should say I have the same opinion of the fact that, first of all, I don't have any evidence of such a thing. It would only be speculation, which is unfair to even address, right? But what I can say, in my experience, investigating weapons trafficking to Jamaica, is that we've done several operations in Jamaica, right? Working, of course, hand in hand with the local police. And, sad to say, and unfortunate, is that we have oftentimes come across a lot of internal leaks within the police, which is linked to corruption. I can't say I have anything with the politicians or not, but obviously the police are who we deal with, and they're the ones who know what we're doing, and we're working jointly together, and things don't work out, Leaks get out, the operation is jeopardized, our safety is jeopardized, and those involved, and things don't work out. So what that tells me is that there are issues with the police. I think we already know that, though, right? But no, I wouldn't go as far as to say politicians are involved, because I have no evidence of that. No, I don't have any.
Let me have Dr. Francis.
The police is corrupt, but if those are the ones we're dealing with in Jamaica, and information has gotten out, where else is the information coming from, right? They're the only ones that know what we're doing there. We're working together. So, yeah.
Dr. Francis, do you think that the guns, we already know that there are too much guns in the island, but you think that coming to the politician?
You know, been around politicians for a very long time, but I know that there are major gangs in Jamaica. Two of the majors, one order and Klansman, okay? And just look at the documentary that came out of, not documentary, the interviews that came out of England the other day and what they said. And if you listen to it carefully, and I encourage everybody to listen to it, not my words, go listen to it yourself. And you can make that determination of yourself. We all listened to it, I think. I think you did, I did, and so on and so forth. So the point I'm trying to make is that there are, whether it's politicians or strong men or rich men and so on, poor people can buy so many guns. So obviously it's coming from somewhere. So all I'm saying is that there are just too many guns, and it could be guns for trade for weed, or not weed so much, cocaine and the transition, because Jamaica is a transition point. What I would want to say is that a couple of things. That Jamaican police, I know there are a lot of Jamaican police who would do their work if they had the correct leadership in place to do it, as Brother Rattingham has said. And so it's leadership. It's a question of leadership all around, locally, middle and upper. That you need to exercise the leadership because people will follow that. And so those are the things. And they're very good policemen, I'm telling you, you can trust, and who want to see a change and don't want. For example, Ronnie said about the pay has advanced. Come on. When you look at what the police are getting nowadays, yes, it's in comparison maybe a little bit more than what it was previously, but it's not that far, especially when inflation outpaces the raise that they got. And they still are owed money right now, from what I understand, in back, and the finance minister, I understand, sent back some money, which I find kind of weird to understand that. I'm just saying to you that the guns are there. And the question is, where did they come from? And the fact of the matter is that these young people, these boys, have sworn to use the gun and to eat dinner. I chopped off two heads yesterday, buried two duppy yesterday. That's the language they use. And I'm saying to you that, how did we get here? As you know, it takes time to get to that point, right? And the most severe punishment is not necessarily for all persons, but at least if they knew, as Ronnie said, that they would be caught, right? So the system is flawed. You have to look at the justice. Is he who knows who? How can you have a man who has said they has killed 3 times? The witnesses disappear and they get bail 3 times or more. And if you tell them you're gone. And if you can't catch Quack, you catch them shot. I mean, come on. How many times have we seen that? I think we're avoiding those issues in Jamaica. It's a paradise, but it's a paradigm at the same thing. We need to change it, because what is happening is that they're treating tourists, they're treating Chinese, they're treating everybody better than they're treating their own selves. How can we hate ourselves so, and then we blame it on the slave trade? Come on, give me a break. If you listen to Bob Marley at the end said, "Boy, I want to Chinese, I want everybody work together." Those are his exact words. Okay, and he's a prophet, literally. But he was not a prophet all the time, according to all Jamaicans. We denigrated him sometimes, and I'm sure everyone has its place. But what I'm trying to say is that we have to learn to love ourselves first, right? We cannot continue to kill our babies. We cannot continue. We are going to lose a generation, but we have to get stern in it, as Ronnie has said. I agree with him on that. We have to find a way forward, as Clive has said. We have to use hard policing and soft policing, mostly soft policing. Because I remember the days when, police and soldiers used to be welcomed into communities. One more thing, SOEs. I don't know if you've all seen the picture of that ex-soldier. I'm so ashamed. That is what happens when SOEs are there too long into communities. You end up, you have 1,000 babies that did not belong there, and they have no fathers. And the mothers begin to resent them, according to Professor Herbert Gale. It's empirical evidence. And so they say, well, I go on, you're dirty like your father, and what have you. And so they start to grow themselves and what have you. And they learn other things. Gentlemen, I beg you, speak to your colleagues. All those persons you're telling me about in these alma maters worldwide, they're doing phenomenal job. Phenomenal work. I know. I've intertwined with them and worked with them on many occasions. Okay, then, but my say, let us now focus. Instead of playing the blame game, oh, that guy there, oh, and just want to be up, is a non-entity. My God, if I could be a non-entity, somebody can call me a non-entity, and I'm not arrogant when I say that. I have evidence to show the type of work with my friends and colleagues, thousands of them, right, who work for Jamaica every day. You know how much money we send to Jamaica medically? And yet hospitals are in the shambles that they are in. And I'll have you, come on. Please look at the evidence. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to find somebody to give us the evidence as to show what the diaspora. And I'm going to say to you, my brothers and sisters in Jamaica, our navel string was cut right there too in Jamaica. And we want to see the best for everybody, especially the children. We may have to lose a generation or so, but let's work together to make sure this never happens again. That's all. I want to thank you for the opportunity. And that's
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I just want to ask Mr. Rattigan, and I'm going to give him a minute to answer this question. Do you think that the politicians contribute to the gun entering the island? And I give you a minute because we're wrapping up, and I have another question.
Yeah. No. Quickly. Go back and look at the WikiLeaks cable out of Jamaica 2010 that implicated several politicians involved in criminal activities and identified their association with criminals. That's 2010. Now, let me take you to answer your question. Let me bring you to something more recent. In 2021, right, the UK British High Commissioner, outgoing, Asif Ahmad, he said, and actually it's in the Gleaner, crooked politicians on UK radar. I'm answering your question directly. Yeah, it says, when we follow the money as we do, and this is a quote, it is striking still how often the trail leads to a politician on a council somewhere. Went on to say, the report, outspoken UK High Commission to Jamaica, Asif Ahmad, has indicated that local political figures are still linked to gun running and other illegal activities in Jamaica. This is July 2021. There's your answer, sir.
Wow. Clive had alluded to the fact that the culture has impact our crime situation, or crime and violence immensely. I spoke to him last night. Anybody on this panel share that sentiment that the culture has impact our our situation, the crime situation that we're having? You want to respond to that, Masran?
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you. You see, when you have a problem as bad as the problem in Jamaica, everybody have a solution for it. Because one thing you can't deny, we have a problem. And anybody can, everybody has a solution them to it, because, we have a problem that you cannot deny. Now, the fact of the matter, though, about this thing about the culture, and Clive made a point about the amount of, ghetto type living, in a city, poor housing condition that he believed would feed into crime. I have no difficulty accepting that. The only problem, however, is that our murder rate is 3-4 times that in Haiti. And Haiti have far more slum areas than Jamaica. So, there's an inconsistency or, some incongruence when we think about it along that line. When Edward Seaga came into serious politics in the 1960s, early, that was one of the fixes he thought. That's where he went about transforming Bakawal into what has now become Tivoli Gardens. Because as early as that, 60 years ago, he believed that the housing condition would breed into degradation and and crime. So it's not a new thinking, and that is what I said early on, that there is a liberal view that if we were to give people better places to live, educate them, and give them work, employ them, then that would take care of the crime. And that has been our approach. We went about, the level of university degrees in Jamaica now compared to 20 years ago, it's amazing. Just about everybody now ended up with a degree. I remember when I was going to high school, only 1% of the country had university education. It is 6, 7, 8 times that now. So the social conditions have changed immensely. But at the same time, the murder rate has not adjusted, accordingly. What about the culture? Because we have a situation where crime is so rampant. We have a lot of heroes in criminal practice, in a lot of them. And young people are emulating these criminals. When you look at scamming in Jamaica, that it has done for people, that in itself is influencing bright minds in high school who don't see the point of going on, to college, because them see man driving, Range Rover, man driving markets, and so on and so on, from just scamming people. Before scamming, there were the drugs. So with those kind of behavior where people believe that, well, you don't have to, you can, because what is culture? Culture is what the common understanding is. That is what defines culture for me. So I believe that culture do play a role in it. What we have to ask ourselves, what is that specific subculture and what is fueling that? I've heard on this forum where people talk about the music is a factor in there and so on and so forth. I have no doubt that culture is playing a role, but I don't know, I can't explain, the formation of that culture and exactly how it is working. Well, you can't dismiss that as a view.
I'm muted for a second. Yes. So, Dr. Francis, you want to speak to that? The impact of the culture too.
I will agree that when I see the expressions of young people now and the music, I was into music myself. I used to create music. Some time ago, I had Capricorn Disco in Sharky's place up around New Kingston, whatever it was. Anyway, I had those things, and I used to be involved with it at one time, and the music was so good. The music was refreshing, it was encouraging, and of course there's a subculture to every culture. But it seems to me that at one stage, the gunmanship and the donmanship and what have you kind of infiltrated the culture, and the informer to dead culture, etc. was something. But to say that people from the ghetto didn't have an opportunity to grow, you're looking at least 2 right now. I don't know about Clive, but who have had the advantage of being there and growing up, and the people who protected you. I mean, in my community, for example, where I grew up, there were people who were considered, you couldn't touch me. Not because I knew him as a bad man, but he said, don't touch Miss Margaret Pitney. You understand me? Him different, leave him alone. Or make him smoke, don't make him do that. So these people, so I can understand how culture gets into it, but I can't understand how culture has overtaken. Well, because it's now selling, it is ironic that most of the persons who listen to our culture, the other day I was laughing, someone in Los Angeles said, you go to a reggae culture now in Los Angeles, it's pure white people. You can't even afford to go in there, and it's packed in when rain is falling. Because what I'm trying to say, it's sort of draws you in. And so, this bad man thing and so on and so forth, the way you dress and the way you talk and the way you operate, I believe it's on Jamaica. I really do believe that. And I don't believe that if you start from infant school being 2.5, 3, with children, and expose them to the anthem and the pledge and so on of Jamaica, and you right through, you're going to have a different Jamaica intent. That is what is required. Educating them, making them understand how to love their country. You know, oh, jewel of Jamaica, oh, jewel so rare. We are bordered by mountains, we are divided by streams. Those are poetry that, I mean, you know, I've gone into, you know, The Road to Lacovia by A.L. Hendricks. Those things have drawn us, Miss Loomis, and all those things. Those are the things we have to expose our children to, right? And they get to understand how rich our culture is and why we are preferred as a place to live in Jamaica, or come to visit. And for that, I'm very proud. Yes, culture does have a mark on our society. Thank you for that.
Chris, you want to respond to how the culture impact our crime and violence?
Yeah, I think it does, especially in the music, right? I mean, clearly, some of the music, I'm not going to knock them all, but some of them does reflect in the lyrics, you know, some really bad things that's going on in society. And the kids, the young ones, really are influenced by the music, you know. They love the artists, they idolize the artists that create this music, and so they tend to sort of think that's the norm, or they live by these lyrics and what have you. And so, yes, that has a very strong impact on the crime, and more so because music is an important aspect of Jamaican culture, right? So it is definitely something that is going to be, you know, impacting those who listen to it, unfortunately. And I hope that the artists would come together and sort of like clean up their act, if you will. I understand there's a freedom of speech issue going on here, not to infringe on that, but, you know, to be responsible about music production and so on. And it's about making money now. You know, try to keep try to understand that the impact of the music beyond you making money can be really realistic to the society, to be bad. And so yeah, to answer your question, unfortunately, that aspect of it, and as well, what Dr. Francis just said about things like informal up and down and so on. You know, how we're going to get rid of that, I don't know. But yeah, people in your community or society that are doing wrong and, you know, clearly need to be taken off the street or removed from society, or for the justice system to take its toll. And it's hampered by people protecting their identity and not cooperating with the police and so on, because there's a stigma that if you do cooperate with police, you're bad. Or if you talk about somebody, give information about someone in the community, although they need to be arrested, for instance, right? There's still the whole stigma of protecting their identity overrides the right thing to do. I don't know how that is going to be overcome, but it needs to. It needs to.
Right. Thank you. I think Chris and I share the same sentiment, because I think the music really have a significant impact. You know, the music plays such a big role in our culture that we cannot ignore that effect that it would have had on our culture. But that's my last question. But I'm
that point, though, you see, that is because I've already repeated that point over and over. I have a natural interest in the music. I grew up as a little musician myself. I do a little production early. I've been involved in television and radio. Music is one of the raw material that I use. We have to be very careful, though, that when two things happen together, we don't jump to form a causal relationship in a way that is not well explained. You know, we hear the violence, we hear this in the music, and it is easy for us to jump and say it's the music that's causing the violence. There's also the possibility, and there's good reason to think, that it is the violence that is driving the music, the content that you're hearing. You know, so for us to say it is the music that is driving the violence, it means that somebody hear the music and say, I'm going to kill somebody now. While people are seeing people being killed and how it is happening, and that now form the raw material for the content going into the music. You know, when you talk to these artists and you blame them for it, that's what they're saying. They say we are just simply expressing the reality around them. So them say a man shut a man and marrow and him thing fly and him thing. Me go sing about that.
No.
Yes, it's not because them sing, say man marrow fly, where man, so me go shut up and become hear it on radio. I heard it on the dance hall. So we have to be very, very careful how we set up the cause and effect.
Not to interrupt you, Ronnie, but aren't there other things to sing about?
Eh?
Aren't there other things to sing about other than violence?
People are always artists, creative people are always going to express their experience. They're always going to do that. That's where they get their content from. What is worrying, which is supporting your view, is that we have two big artists. We have Vibes in prison. We have Ninja Man in prison for murder, and we had several others, who went to prison, arrested, went to prison in recent times. She had a big artist for gun, related charges. So there's a high incidence of, violence, among the top echelon of the music, which is frightening too, But I don't know that we can, with any certainty, say it is the music that is causing the violence. I don't know that, because people tend to express what them see.
Okay.
But
Mr. Hartigan, you want to weigh in on the cultural impact and the violence?
Look, I don't think I can improve upon anything that's been said, except to say that for a full exposition of this topic, we should check with Professor Herbert Gale. I don't know if you know him, but he's an interesting fellow, and he has a lot to say about culture and the family and violence. Other than that, I agree with everything that's been said.
Thank you, sir. We almost make it to 2 hours. I can't believe it went so fast. Your final thoughts, Clive? We're going to give you it's 90 seconds for your time.
We have to. The way I'd say it is, there needs to be the powers that be needs to listen. Right, that's it's a responsibility of any effective politician to listen, whether your vote counts or not, whether you can contribute to the next election or not, or you donate or not to your political causes. It is good retail politics dictate that you should listen. On one hand. On the other hand, I think it's important that we draw on solution, focus more on solution in describing these problems. We don't want to get into the circular reference of regurgitating the problem. We want to define it and propose and brainstorm solutions. And I think most of the evening was spent doing that. I'm happy to be part of this discussion. I thank you for inviting me and for hosting an effective discussion. But yes, I think that more of this needs to happen, and more voices need to be brought to the table for us to get to what is really a multifactorial issue, which needs multiple voices and multiple ideas to solve it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Your final thoughts, Dr. Rupert Francis. No, you mute. You are mute.
I said, hope it's not my final thoughts. I hope I will be here next week. So we can. But I would like to think that we are on the same track. I think that we are saying some of the same things with that others have said, in spite of the difference. And but I do think that the first thing that we have to do, we have to commit ourselves to Jamaica, to the land we love, and we really have to mean it. And we have to try to not be biased about it and so on, or to, you know, take a party line, or, and I'm not throwing anything at anybody. That includes me, because people see the green screen behind me, and you may think, you know, that, you know, that's indicative of where I stand in my politics. But I do see orange labels right around me, so I'm both, I would imagine. But so the point I'm trying to make is we have to learn to laugh and agree with each other, and we have to understand each other, and don't look at the record, do the research, and you will find whether this person or persons, I think everyone here, if we put our thoughts and our feelings and our actions together, right, we will come out with a result, and it might be more amicable than you think. We're all saying some of us the same thing, but they were saying it in a different way. I ask all observers, if people are listening in, please, let's throw out it out there. Let's have a conversation, not an incursion, not violence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chris Durant is the man. The final thoughts in 90 seconds.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. First, I apologize for logging on late.
That's all right.
Issues come up, right? Anyways, so I didn't hear a lot of the discussion. I came in and I heard a few points. But, from what I did hear, though, what I like to say as my final thoughts here is that I'd love to see us all be on one page, moving in one direction, the same direction, that is, I should say. Because, not to bring it up again, but I heard some comments on Ronnie saying, for instance, I happened to comment at that point, Ronnie, by the way, I'm not picking on you, where he had said something about why does the expats or diaspora believe that they can come in and make any change at this point, and the protest is not timely and so forth and so on. Not saying he's right, not saying he's wrong. I disagree. Agree that it isn't, because I think there's never the wrong time to do the right thing. Okay, that's just my opinion. Be late or not, bringing this up at this point, at this level, with this, vigorous manner, by protesting. Hey, it is what it is. It's just a time that it occurred. It needs to happen. Thing is, I'd like us all be on one page, because if we're not, we'll always be stagnating and going round and round and round and round. So it would be good if, those in Jamaica and those outside of Jamaica, I should say, agree on prioritizing what needs to be done to bring the country back into the way it should be, economically and so on, and as far as crime is concerned. As I've always said before, I've always said that I think crime is a priority that should be focused upon. I don't think that it's given the priority that it has been given. Why? Because it's the same high level. Ron even said so. It's the same high level. So if what you're doing isn't working to reduce it, don't you change your methodology? You're natural. You try to do something different, right? What do you have to lose?
I can hardly hear Chris.
Pardon?
Your audio is a little distorted.
I'm sorry. I don't know why. Okay, I'll just finish up saying I'm hoping that we can just be on one page, and if we can agree at some point that the expats and diaspora will not stop attempting to facilitate Jamaica with what it believes it needs, right? That's always going to happen. So if we can come to some agreement on accepting something and moving forward, that's going to be in the best interest of the country and best interest of reducing crime, which should be the priority.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Not to keep it on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir Ron, your final thoughts for the night.
Yeah, well, just quickly, state the position that I've raised as it relates to the protests, of your group here. I have a fear for it because, like I said, I don't see the upside, but I can see the possible downside. That's the worry I have. I wouldn't select to do something that is that risky. That's now. The issue, the fear that you should have, as participants in this kind of approach to solving our crime problem, is that it is turned to be divisive. for the simple reason is that it is happening at a time when election is in the air, and the messaging, your message, is the same thing as the opposition. That's what they're saying now. They are, so when you're going around, coming into an election period, carrying the message of the opposition, it doesn't matter whether you say you are political or not, it doesn't matter. It is the effect or the impact or the result of it that it is parting the opposition message. And the last thing that the diaspora won't get involved in, and that is why you have to be very diplomatic about it now, is to be a part of any activity that can be misconstrued as being motivated by partisan interests. The diaspora don't need that. It doesn't need it. I think we have been lucky for many years, even though there have been political partisan people in the diaspora. They exist. But it is going to leave a bitter taste in the mouth of those of us who live in Jamaica. We want to see the diaspora in a very positive light. We don't want to believe that they are part of the propaganda, the messaging of any of the political party. And if it was the other way around, I'd have the same effect. So that is the problem. You're supporting the current message of the opposition party. That's what is happening.
So Rattigan, you want to drop your final thought?
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. And I want to say thank you to Clive and Ronnie and Dr. Francis and Chris for a spirited discussion, as well as to, wish all the listeners and the viewers all the best. Listen, Ronnie keeps saying that this is about crime. And I keep saying to him that it's not only about crime. It's about crime. It's about poverty. It's about the big C, corruption. It's about failed promises. It's about promises that they made to people in Jamaica, people here. It's about all of these things and more. So he keeps focusing on crime. And then he also says that it's close to the election season. As far as I'm concerned, why am I doing this? And that question was asked. Why no? No, because I'm retired from the FBI and I have all the time in the world to focus on making my country what it should be. A shining example for the rest of the world, the Singapore of the Caribbean. That's my goal. And it cannot be achieved if we just sit back and just watch things happen and say, oh, we're not going to get involved. Oh, we can't get involved now because there's an election. As far as, and Dr. Francis, I'm open to being fully corrected. When as a group we started going down this road, the election was never a factor, and it's still not a factor. You know why? Because we have seen where elections were not called. So this had nothing to do with it. And by the way, the general election is not due till next year. So you're saying then, if I follow your line of reasoning, we should just sit back and wait till after the election.
No, you can send some drones. You're
being facetious now, man. But listen, the thing is, we cannot sit back and then say we're going to make our plans around the election when we don't. That's not the fact, because people, by the way, let me give you a stat. 75% of Jamaicans, you talk about 4.2% lowest unemployment rate in the history of Jamaica.
Forever, yeah.
I will not argue with that, but I hope you don't argue with this. 75% of Jamaicans working today earn $100 or less. I hope you don't argue with that. 75% of the people going to bed tonight in Jamaica, they're going malnourished. Or if they have food, the food not good. It's junk. I hope you don't argue with that. So it brings us back to your point, which is, okay, it's 4.2%, but what kind of jobs? But that's for another discussion. Now, I would like to convince Ronnie to take a look at the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. That foundation was created for the sole purpose of holding government accountable in a transparent light. And here is what the OJLDF, you need to write it down in a Ronnie. I don't want to just go 2 years and come out. OJLDF, One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. Go to the website, Ronnie, ojldf.org. Write it down, Ronnie, ojldf.org. Remember it, Ronnie, ojldf.org, because it will hold politicians accountable through lawsuits, through public relations campaign. I'm sure you've heard about the beach access, right? Or the lack thereof. Background investigations into politicians suspected of being corrupt, because we believe that Integrity Commission cannot do it by itself. They don't have the international reach that we have. Protests, which is what another angle that we're doing right now. And the last one is to engage parliaments, Canadian Parliament, the UK Parliament, the American Congress, engage the lawmakers, engage the policy wonks, State Department, and so on, and to say, listen, we need to focus on making our country the best place on planet Earth, because we know it has the potential, but it's been stifled by people who only, you talk about motivation, their only motivation is what? Their pockets. 1 point plus enough trillion dollars vanish. No account for it. Right? And I can sit here and I can give you all of the scandals from 2016 till now, Ronnie. And so I hope, Ronnie, when this program is over, you'll go back and you'll watch it. And
why
you'll listen
you
to the
harping on 2016? Why 2016? Why is that a landmark?
Because 2016 was a pivotal moment where people said, you know, we have a new prime minister, we have a young prime minister, we have a dynamic prime minister, we're a prime minister who's honest, who says he's gonna clean up corruption, he's gonna eat. You can sleep with your door and your windows open, and we believed in him.
You sound like the PNP. You sound so much like the PNP.
Hold on a second, Ronnie. I tell you something. PNP.
No, let me tell you. If I was that, let me tell you something. If I was that seen in person,
right,
I just heard your voice.
Right.
You're talking about the corruption and the poverty and the crime and the.
Ronnie,
you just sound like a PNP platform.
Let me stop you right now and tell you this, right? And just to correct you, in 2016, you know where I was? I'll make it easier for you. In 2016, I was employed by the FBI. I couldn't speak as freely as I'm speaking now. I had no voice, right? I had little perception about Jamaican politics. I became interested in Jamaican politics about 2 years ago, Ronnie. So I am talking about the present. If you have information that,
I'm just trying to help you guys, because sometimes it is unintended. No. I'm saying the PNP message.
Yes.
It started at 2016.
Yeah, but I gave you.
I never been able to change the government since that.
But look, I can't speak for the
people. In other words, just the GLP regime them and try to define.
Well, that's no. I can't speak for anybody else, but I gave you my reason, right? And what I'm telling you also now is the Magnitsky Act, and you should go look it up. Because of the human rights violations in Jamaica.
I'm well aware of it. I just don't see how much.
All right. Well, because I'm forcefully proposing that the U.S. government should act in accordance with it. And guess what will happen? What will happen is that PNP members who supported the state of emergency, they're going to be subject to this law as well. And final point is this. I hope, and I've said it several times to you, Ronnie, I hope you'll go back and you'll look at this program. You'll remember, let this be imprinted, let this be seared in your mind. One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. Let that be seared, because that is the avenue where we're traveling down. And we're in full support of what Dr. Francis is doing with the protest, and we will continue to support him with the protest, not only in New York, but the protest in Canada, the protests in Washington, D.C., and the protests in London. And then guess what happened when all of that over now, Ronnie? Round robin style, all over again. Dennis,
one of the good thing about it, whatever I want to think about it, and I think it is dangerous, I think it is pointless, I think it's without purpose, but it is a right, and we all have to respect that. We just don't see the point of it. We see the danger in it, and I'm the only local on this. So you have to just forgive my rebuttal all the time, because I feel threatened by it as a Jamaican living here, because I know the danger. And when I say it, I know I'm saying what a lot of other Jamaicans I'm hearing, they're very dismissive of it. They're not like me, who engage you guys and talk about it as they don't say, I want fringe group that them,
Ronnie. Yes. We're a fringe group. I'm going to leave you with this parting phrase. Watch the ride.
Wow. Thank you, guys. It is a known fact that we spend 2 hours and 10 minutes discussing our concern, and it comes from the love that we have for our beautiful island. We're hoping from this platform and all the other platform that has been created that we could make an impact and create some change. With that being said, thank you very much, Mr. Rattigan, Clive Lawrence, Chris, Dr. Rupert Francis, Ronnie Sutherland. You guys have a good night. Love, like, and share this podcast and subscribe to the channel. Peace out, guys.